Hi, my name is Robbie Lakeman, world champion of Donkey Kong. We're at Arcade Odyssey. You're watching Variant News Source, and we're going to go inside.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 39 of The Variant Verdict. My name is Josh.
And I'm Shawn.
Tonight we're going to be taking a look at the Disney Plus series, WandaVision.
Yes, and obviously this is going to be the first Marvel anything we've gotten since Phase 3 ended, since Far From Home. And I've actually was very excited for this, and I'm not disappointed.
Yes, this is Disney's first time taking a chance at bringing a miniseries to present the characters rather than the film format.
Yeah.
Gives them a little time to breathe, gives a little bit more depth for the characters, a little more character arc to explore. So what's kind of the basic gist? We'll just get that out of the way.
Well, yes, first, anybody who hasn't seen this yet, spoilers, and also...
Yeah, we're going to go over this. This is well after it's been out. If you're an MCU fan, you should have watched it by now.
You should have watched this already, so if you continue on from this point, you've been warned. So obviously, this is the show of... The full naming, I guess you can call it, of Scarlet Witch. Everyone thought, where is this going to lead, things like that. But really, this is about Wanda Maximoff finally becoming...
her transformation into the Scarlet Witch.
Exactly. And obviously, they did it in a very interesting and weird way. Due to her grief-stricken, because Vision's died in Infinity War, obviously. So because of this, she's... lost it. She's went ahead and somehow created this. Yes, what would you call it?
We pick up with Wanda where it seems like she last left off, and it's what seems like a perfectly good suburban 50s sitcom, and a perfect world with Vision. Obviously, the first question is, how is Vision alive? How does this reality exist? We know what happened after the snap. We know what happened to the blip. So to make a long story short, she carries on a facade, and with characters from this town as it unravels that become recurring throughout the time periods that they're parodying, which is the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, all the way to the 90s to the modern day.
Yep.
So it's an homage to that. The show's a giant homage to those sitcoms, the style of filming for those sitcoms, down to the writing and the It's insane. It's perfect.
No, it was really, like I said, well done. It was obviously when the show first started, it was very intriguing. No secret, like just little hints here and there that something's off. And then you come to find out that, yes, Wanda did make this world, and Sword, which is their real introduction. Obviously, we saw him for a second at the end of Far From Home, but this is their real introduction where they're the ones handling this situation. And we obviously get into... now Monica Rambo, which the little girl from Captain Marvel, she's now grown up, involved in this, came back from the blip.
Yep, and you realize her mother from Captain Marvel died.
Yes.
In the time of the blip, from cancer, or surgery or something.
Not cancer,
Yeah, she didn't make it through. So you start to realize with the post-blip world that they set up kind of... So yeah, this is really... I mean, Far From Home does take place after, but this is feels like a true successor to what left off at the Endgame. But it focuses heavily on Wanda. She's been through so much. She lost Vision, and the way she lost Vision twice, kind of back-to-back in the Infinity War. Mm-hmm. She lost her brother to Ultron, and obviously the way her upbringing in Sokovia. So this show, in a nutshell, is just an allegory for the grief, moving on from her past, and dealing with reality, like the reality of how things are and how to move forward.
In a way, not dealing with it by making her own. But in the end, it always comes back. But no, so ultimately, though, I mean, with that said, what did you think? How did you enjoy this?
All right, so to me, the show has got a great slow burning effect. You had to really hang in there for those first 3 episodes to get into the meat of where it was kind of going. Whether it was some of it being obvious, some of it not.
Yeah.
It was definitely hey, this is what's going on. This is where we're going to go with it, kind of. I loved the investigative aspect of it.
Yes.
I was with Jimmy Woo and his return from Ant-Man and the Wasp was a huge part of why I tuned in every week.
You got that magic trick down.
You got it right down. That's why we're in Westview right now. We're actually checking out the scene. And that's one of the things I liked about it, the immediate intrigue that he brought, because I got a question that reminds me on this very topic. They went to Westview to find a missing persons case.
Yeah.
Who do you think the initial missing person was? I have a theory for it, and I thought maybe it could be Ralph Boner. But we'll get to that later if we feel like it. But maybe, like, he was a kid living in his basement. Who was Jimmy Woo looking for to begin with?
Yeah, who knows?
They never answered that.
Well, she even said, in a way, though, they did by Monica saying, like, this isn't a missing persons case. This is a missing town. Like, nobody can... Like, that's the thing. Everyone on the outside, all the citizens surrounding it, they don't even see what's happening. So they're obviously...
I loved the close attention to detail when it came to the dialogue, the filming style, the aspect ratio of everything that they were homaging throughout the series.
Oh, yeah, I'm a huge
The attention to detail was just phenomenal.
It was.
Holy crap.
I grew up with all those shows. So, like, I grew up watching I Love Lucy and Bewitched and Brady Bunch and all these things. So, seeing them and how they portrayed them and everything, it was awesome. And, like, even down to, like, seeing the strings when Wanda's using her powers.
True story about Bewitched, the same house from Bewitched on the lot when they filmed for WandaVision. They used the same house that they lived in Bewitched for Agatha Harkness.
Or Agnes, as you initially know. But yeah, Agatha. No,
I thought that was a cool little Easter egg.
That is actually really
the attention
cool.
to detail is insane. So when you say, what do you like about it? That's like probably the number one thing that comes to mind is just how well, even down to those commercial segments.
Oh, the commercial segments are great.
They parodied the style of commercials from those eras, like to a T.
And her history in general. So everything that you noticed from those commercials was something from her past, whether it was like the group that made her versus, well, some of them actually I don't even think I got. Like I didn't know if it was Quicksilver or what, but the Shark Bites one, like the cartoon one where it's the kid on the island dying.
Well, my theory on that one was that he was getting magic like yogurt snacks, and maybe like the more of the magic he was trying to consume but he couldn't use and it was killing him.
I don't know.
I don't know everything felt like a metaphor. You had the Strucker watch, Baron von Strucker, who was the one doing experiments on her Hydra, the Hydra soap, which was kind of almost looked like the Tesseract, the cube.
Yeah.
I thought maybe the Reality Stone when I thought of the red liquid that's getting wiped up.
I was thinking of that too. You never know.
Like I felt like maybe they were the stones, but then I figured the bomb, because the sound of the tick that you hear on the toaster was the same sound of the ticking of the Stark missile that landed in front of Wanda and Pietro.
Ah, that's true too.
That's the same tick you hear on the toaster commercial.
Yeah, and
and then the Nexus obviously with the prescription pills. She's a Nexus being. If you guys don't know, in Marvel Universe, you know what a Nexus being is?
Well, I mean, isn't it just a galactic being in a sense?
They are a person who stays the same person no matter what multiverse they're in.
Oh, okay.
And Wanda is a Nexus being, if you follow the comic books. So kind of a neat little Easter egg that they had a Nexus pill.
Huh.
Anyways, go on.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, is the Nexus going to be something that gets incorporated into this future that
Doctor
we don't know
Strange,
what's happening?
but we'll get there.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that's all. That's one thing. A lot of people were... You even put it best yourself, and that was... This show gave everyone just the wrong amount of time in between every episode. Pretty much, in another word, you said it differently, but like this going 7 days without any answers made everyone go nuts with speculation. Like there was so much.
I think the theorizing of when Monica says that she has a technical or aeronautical engineer friend that she's going to call in for help.
Yeah.
They thought that, John Krasinski from the Fantastic Four was who they were talking about, like, Reed Richards, even if it wasn't him, whatever the case. And then another huge one was Mephisto is behind the scenes. It had to be Mephisto, which, to the fans' credit, Mephisto is a huge part of Scarlet and Vision's story.
Yeah.
But, going back to what I liked about it, I'm kind of glad that they didn't go the route, like, let's use this to introduce the big villain. This is about Wanda Maximoff becoming the Scarlet Witch, like you said.
Everyone lost that, I think, halfway through. That, like, everyone thought this was going to be a big lead into Doctor Strange 2 or something else, but really, no, this is just the time she needed to solidify herself into the character she's supposed to be. Instead of her just popping up one day, oh, yep, she's Scarlet Witch now. Like,
yeah,
what
exactly.
happened? So... No, I thought they did it beautifully, and they also answer a lot of what's happening with Vision. Basically, with what's going on with Vision is Vision's dead. We know this, so he's in pieces in the middle of a sword factory, like a sword's base. So this creation of Vision that we see in the Hex is ultimately what she claimed herself was. What was the Mind Stone that is inside of her is what she was able to use to create Vision. So he's still not real. But there is a real Vision. And they rebuilt him on the outside. So you have your fake Vision, you have your real Vision. They meet in the end of this show, and then we have Vision back. And they pretty much do a little USB drive transfer, and new white Vision, which I'm sure will change in color and time.
Yeah, and that was obviously like an Easter egg again, because when Vision was introduced to the Avengers, he was just like a voiceless kind of, I wouldn't say brainless, just an artificial intelligent being without like a real personality.
Absolutely.
And he was white, and with he looked very similar, so kind of a throwback. And I love how you got to see the two of them collide and have like a battle.
And then you also had that Paul Bettany troll thing where he...
Yeah, he said on Good Morning America that, he was excited to show everyone how he got to work with someone he always wanted to work with.
And everyone's all
turned out to be it was him.
Yeah.
So good on you, Paul
He got
Bettany.
us.
So what were your favorite aspects of the series?
Well, kind of like a lot of what you said and what I also touched on, where I actually grew up with all these shows, so I love how well they did it. But I also loved how this wasn't a show that just beat you over the head with exposition, like most Marvel things do. Like they really do have to really drill in and explain to you why and what's happening. Where in this, they let you just hang for like 3 episodes. Like, yeah, what's happening? Figure it out. And like, there's been no mystery like that out of the MCU yet. So that just, I loved that.
Yeah, it had a Lynchian vibe to it that I thought MCU hadn't really captured. And I told Shawn, I remember when the first episode came on, I'm like, man, I'm totally in on this because I'm not guessing. I'm not getting all the answers being spoon-fed to me, and I like that aspect about it. Yeah. As far as the villain goes, that's always the big question when you watch an MCU show. I'm a little bit partial. I liked Agatha Harkness. I think that it was a good personal villain to Wanda's story. She's a good, what's the word I'm looking for? She's a good go-between in explaining Wanda her powers, but also breaking down her past because they're related, kind of as she puts it. And I thought that was done really well. So I liked her. I thought she was good for telling Wanda's story. I think she'll end up coming back clearly from the way they ended it.
Yeah.
So I think they enjoy Catherine Hahn being on the show as much as they, she probably did enjoy doing the role because she looked like she had a blast. And she was one of my favorite performances.
Yeah, she's one of the best things in the show because not only before, Agatha Harkness even came out, and when she's Agnes, it was like, God, you were perfect for those eras. Like every era of things, she fit in perfectly. And it was, I thought she did fantastic. Another person I thought was good. Not enough screen time in my eyes, but Kat Dennings with Darcy.
Yeah, I didn't like how she ended on the show. I think her abrupt ending on the finale was kind of weird.
Yeah,
it was cool what she did, and that goes back to the other villain. I didn't like him too much either. Like the sword setup.
Oh, the sword director.
Yeah, it just didn't do much for me.
Here's the thing, and I guess this is another thing I do. Going back to what I like about it, this is another thing is that this show also blurred the lines of what a villain is and what a hero is, because sure we're supposed to be sympathizing with Wanda. But she's doing a lot of horrible shit.
Yeah,
like she's doing really bad, and they make it clear that ultimately she's torturing an entire town. So this sword director is ultimately trying to just get it to stop, free the people, no matter what. And I get that no matter what brings him.
They give you the idea he has like a noble intention.
Yeah, and it's like so. Really, when you think about it, if he didn't shoot at Wanda's kids, which honestly we haven't even mentioned them yet, but. If he didn't shoot at the children, would he have really been a bad guy?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I guess the most bad he did was... I thought it was kind of goofy that he, showed a fake version of the security footage of Wanda.
To get everyone...
It's kind of goofy, and, that was, you have to really plan that shit out, so I thought it was just, kind of goofy that he went through all that trouble. What was kind of funny, a little Easter egg, too, is that when you see Monica go into his office for the very first time you're introduced to the character... all of his frames for his degrees are in a hexagonal shape. That's a weird little thing. I mean, even though he has nothing to do with why it's created, but maybe that was a sign that all right, something's up with this character right off the bat.
Maybe. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
But it's just a little Easter egg. I mean, they could show it.
And speaking of Monica, that's another thing this show brought us, which I liked. It wasn't just also Scarlet Witch becoming Scarlet Witch. It was the creation of Photon. Yeah. Monica Rambeau is now created by entering the hex twice. It rewrote her completely, and she's now Photon. So We have a character introduction. We have, all this thing. We have a character arc completion to her power. So this, for 9 episodes, did a lot that I don't think any of the movies would be able to do, given that, they have to share their time.
Yeah, and it also seemed like they wanted to find a way to like organically bring Photon into it and do something with Monica's daughter. And I thought it was pretty good. Like, yeah. I thought like her origin like looked really cool, very mutant-like, something you haven't really seen the MCU kind of do as far as origins go.
Oh, don't get me started on mutants. Different. Oh my God! Now we haven't talked about it yet, but fuck it, we might as well. They knew what they were doing by bringing Evan Peters in as Quicksilver. Like, they knew what they were doing.
It was cool. I mean, it's kind of like a troll, though, and
it really was. And in a way, that was probably my biggest disappointment of the whole show. I still enjoyed him in it. I thought that he was great, but you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, and it was like the moment that broke the internet with the show was when he came knocking on the door at the end of whatever 4 or 5 episodes in or whatever. And when he came, I was like, wow, they're finally doing it. Like, they're being ballsy. They're bringing the Fox characters. I also thought that, like, that also comes with the baggage of having to bring every one of them into it if you're going to bring one. But I still like the idea that he was a Quicksilver or he was Pietro Maximoff, but what he ends up being is just a resident of Westview that was inhabited within the Hex, and his name was Ralph Boner, and he was just some goofball.
Agatha was the one who controlled him and gave him his powers.
Who ironically like lived in a basement and had like arcade machines and like a pool table just like the other Quicksilver. It was like a mirror doppelganger.
Well, no, it really was, but also at the same time, like, I know everyone kind of goes, what, this is like a boner joke? I think that was a wink to like Growing Pains, because he even acted like him too. And
I like how he even chuckles a little bit after he says that.
Yeah, he's like boner. But no, but the main thing is that I just don't want to repeat myself, but they knew what they were doing and they knew what we were gonna do. Full intention. So it was 100% a troll.
It was a ratings grab, and
it was, and it was 100% a troll.
They did great in that regards. Like, there was every episode it was like a cliffhanger. All the like facade that they built with the like faux TV sets and all that was starting to break apart further and further. My favorite episode, I'll just get this out of the way, is the Halloween episode.
Of course.
That parodies Modern Family, and I loved that episode. If I had to pick like one major highlight, do you have a major highlight for this season?
A major highlight for the whole season? It has to be the Halloween episode too. But the one thing about the Halloween episode that it actually does bring to light a subject I always like to bring up to people, where this just shows you what it looks like if you were to bring the actual legit costume of a hero from the comic onto television.
Yeah, so many key
like Quicksilver. Holy shit, they made him look exactly like he does in the comic. Does that look cool to you?
Yeah, like, they even got Wiccan and Wiccan and Speed. I'm sorry, the sons, the twins of Vision
Billy
and Wanda.
And Timmy, but yeah, they dressed up as Wiccan and Speed. And
yeah, that was really cool. And then Vision in like his classic like '80s Chris Claremont style, like Uncanny X-Men Avengers style.
No, exactly. Which
was really cool.
And it was fun to see them, but it just reminds you that.
But that episode is like just the right amount of creep factor.
Yeah.
Just the right amount of reveal towards some like plot pushing.
Oh yeah.
Just the right amount of like special effects and cool like action, because that's when she expands the Hex and Vision gets pulled back in. And,
good CGI.
Just awesome episode. Do you have any things about the show you didn't like?
Ultimately, I would say the Quicksilver thing. I already brought that up. The fact that, again, I liked him in it. I've always liked anything I've really seen Evan Peters in, so I got nothing bad against him. But just the fact that you bring Quicksilver from the X-Men in as Quicksilver from, replacing Quicksilver from the MCU, and you don't follow through with it, like, I don't know.
Yeah, that was just definitely a disappointment.
The only other thing I would probably say is a disappointment is maybe kind of like we already mentioned before, though, that sword director villain, because like even when you think about it, it's like, what was he doing?
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, I don't really know what his plot was, why he changed the footage, why he made this other Vision to send him in so that they could kill the other Vision. And it's like, I know he mentioned something about like, I'll bring Vision out and I'll be praised. Is that it? Because that's a weak motivation.
Yeah, and it's like I guess in this version, I know sapient weapon researching isn't part of the acronym for the comics in Sword, but that's what it is in the MCU. So they clearly like wrote that to be like a priority, and Vision being a sapient weapon, like kind of like shoehorned it into the story. So my disappointment comes in Evan Peters for sure, and the reason I'm giving this an 8 out of 10 is because, ironically, episodes 8, 9, and 10 is when it starts to become more of an MCU show,
but it's become
and less of the show that I've been so intrigued and
but remember
enjoyed.
That is also because more of reality is coming in, so it's her.
No, I'm aware. I think because in those final 3 episodes you get a lot of Sword. They obviously have to leave off. I wasn't completely satisfied with like Wanda inconsequentially like running off into the mountains. It's kind of cool, but it's doable because it's the Marvel Universe. They've done a lot of stuff similar to this. I just think my gripe is that I would have liked, maybe because the show played so emotionally with like the goodbye between Wanda and Vision, things like that. The show was so good at being personal to Wanda and how she dealt with grief and all the themes and all the metaphor. I would have liked the show to kind of wrap up a little more quietly. I would have been okay with that. But that's just me. Like I completely get if you wanted like an action-packed ending with like fights in the sky and like, you know, between battles and, you know, the whole 9. I get it. I loved it. The whole show was entertaining 1 through 10. But that's why I don't give I give the show an 8 out of 10 overall, is because that to me, like, I would have been more satisfied with than say an action beats you know, this is gotta go. We have to leave you off with where this is going, kind of thing. Like,
no, yeah,
I would have liked it if it was more self-contained and quiet.
No, which I get.
That's
that
just
too,
my opinion.
No, and I can totally. There's really nothing I can say to to go against that. So if that's what you want, that's fine. I mean, the one reason why I think anyone would really kind of rate this down low is because of speculation, man, and expectation. The two, what I call like cancers of entertainment. They didn't get what they wanted, so now the show isn't good anymore. So I can't stand that method of looking at it. So I actually do give it like a 9 out of 10 because the only gripes I'm actually getting is what I mentioned, just like Quicksilver. And it has actually nothing to do with the story. That's everything surrounding it. So honestly, when you take all of that out of account, because we both watched this more than once. Mm-hmm. Because we can't, first of all, with a show like this, you can't watch it once and then go like, oh yeah, let's go. You have to watch everything again in context and see what's happening and how everything goes. So seeing Quicksilver again and everything the second time over, it's not as disappointing. It's still good. I still thought he was
no,
funny.
like I said, WandaVision's a very good show. I'd recommend it to anyone. And in fact, it's one of my favorite like recent MCU things, just period, because it's just so different. Like I said, if the show had completely stayed that course through all the way to the end, where I feel like it starts to take on more traditional, like, this has to be in an MCU project kind of material, which isn't bad because the MCU knows how to do action. It's just, I would have preferred that. You know?
No, exactly. That's what
I'm saying.
So
overall, this show is really good. And as far as post-credits, where was this thing taking us? The future is kind of wild. I think it's pretty obvious. We saw a Skrull come in at the end to tell Monica that she's going to outer space. We know who's in outer space. We know she's working for Sword. So likely she's going to see Nick Fury. That's next time we're going to see Photon. And what was the other post-credits?
It's Wanda. You see Wanda, like, training with the black... What is it? The Darkhold, yeah.
And I think she's learning the same magic that we saw Doctor Strange use when he's in front of his bed reading a book while he's asleep, like the kind of like separation from your body, the astral projection magic. So I think it was great in that it just didn't set up like a whole bunch of plot threads. It just said like this is where Wanda's left off. And we know she's in Doctor Strange, so it kind of made sense. And it didn't tell you anything about how they're going to connect, which I think is great.
Yes.
It just said like she's on some Doctor Strange shit. We know that.
Well, she's studying. We know Vision's alive. Like there are things that we know, but like Wanda doesn't know Vision's there. Like Vision's out now with his memories outside.
Yeah, and like will he come back? Will their interactions be like, because he technically isn't Vision, but he kind of has the memories pre-Avengers of the Vision.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting
Agatha.
to see if they try to shoehorn that relationship again, or if she's moved on and like
who knows?
Maybe WandaVision was a lesson learned for Wanda.
And on top of that, Agatha is also, when she said like you're gonna need me,
She'll be back.
and she even said like I'm gonna keep you right here until I ever need you again, and like. No, something's going to happen where she's going to have to go to Agatha and be like,
Agatha is a good guy in the comics. She became a very big mentor to Wanda, has Scarlet Witch for a long time. It was ironic because an Easter egg is in the episode where she's being burned at the stake in the past.
Yeah.
You see her mother, like, get disintegrated, but that's who... Her mother looked like Agatha Harkness with the tied back hair and, like, the pearl, like, to a T, so it was clearly an Easter egg. But she is a different character in the comics. They portrayed her as more antagonistic in this, and I think they purposely didn't kill her because they will use her in a more like useful, positive light.
Also, you
like
say
the way she is in the
antagonistic, but here's the other thing: what did she do other than hold fake children hostage?
Well, it's pretty bad. And then she also kind of manipulated Wanda into certain things. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because here Agatha's ultimate goal here was
she wanted the hex to stay open.
Well, she wanted to know how it happened. So, and she knew that if it went away, she's not going to figure it out. So she was feeding it so that she could get Wanda to eventually show how she.
No, she's a good villain because she's a little complex and she's not black and white.
She's a witch that wanted to learn.
No pun intended.
I know. No, she's a witch that wanted to learn by doing this. Like, what did she do that Wanda wasn't already doing?
Good point.
She's the one that pointed out to Wanda, heroes don't torture people. Like, was she really a villain?
I saw fans also point out online that there's a book missing, and I'll show the picture, in Doctor Strange's library that's just randomly missing, and people are speculating that it's the Darkhold, and maybe that's how the connection to finding Wanda will come about. You never know. Like, they're pretty smart with their Easter eggs. Like, I've learned that with Marvel, and
before
we can be dead ass wrong or we can be dead ass right, and either way wouldn't surprise me.
Well, with this one, I was like 99% dead ass wrong, so I'm not even gonna really bother going into in the future now. I grew up with the Infinity Gauntlet, everything like that, so I had to follow it. I had to know what was happening. I'm lost as to where exactly everybody's going. I think this is beyond my comic years. I'm just going to take it. I'm not going to look and see who's cast in what movie anymore, who's going to be in what, where this is going to go next.
We're entering like kind of the Silver Age of comics, when the 80s and 90s were popular in terms of like we...
Well, no, but that was me.
WandaVision had, Tom King's Vision story, and then you had the Chris Claremont story, Scarlet Vision, and...
Now, here's one thing.
Scarlet Witch in the Vision.
Before we do wrap it up, I have to ask. What would you say was the biggest theory you thought was going to happen but didn't? Mine's far-fetched as fuck.
All right. I have a two-part answer, and the first one is I said that when Evan Peters was cast, he was going to be Quicksilver. I was half right about that.
No,
half
you did.
Right about that. Because you're like, no way.
But not what you were right on, but I'm saying, like, say, what was the theory that you didn't come out?
Which one did I speculate while watching it? I had a few, but they weren't like dead sets. I think the most dead set I thought would be that Doctor Strange would show up.
Okay. No, see, me, I went full blown. I went insane on this because once Quicksilver got entered in, I thought that the X-Men was joining. I thought everything...
No, that's fair because Scarlet Witch has so many ties to Magneto.
No, exactly. And, it's her father.
Yeah.
So here's what I was thinking was going to happen is like, who the hell could get her out of this? And a lot of people were thinking Doctor Strange and stuff like that. But I'm thinking Quicksilver shows up out of nowhere. We have a super, super powerful mutant that's probably sitting outside who sent Quicksilver.
Yeah.
What if what if Wanda leaves the Hex one time and you have Xavier and Magneto both sitting next to each other like, we need to talk.
Yeah, I think we all speculated so heavy, and we thought that Disney Plus would do this stuff. Like, I think after Luke Skywalker showed up on Mandalorian season 2, we all thought it was fair game for like Disney Plus to just blow our fucking minds all of the time.
Well, they're not yet.
And I think I'm okay. Like, maybe that's the thing I like most about WandaVision is the more personal aspects of it, and the fact that it wasn't constantly trying to give us like new. This is where it's going. Like, they gave us just enough hints of the multiverse. They gave us just enough hints of, like, what other characters might be up to post-Endgame. But that's about it. Like, that's all I needed. But the rest was about Wanda and her story, and it was personal, it was deep, and I fucking love that part of it, and that's how I want to end it.
Yeah, and I also, with this, I mean, I'm not expecting anything crazy mind-fuckish as with Falcon and Bucky, but I actually do. I'm now seeing how they were able to handle this show. I'm excited to see how Falcon Winter Soldier is, and I'm really excited to see how.
I think that'll be more traditional MCU.
It is.
I feel like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
to a less theoretical kind of situation.
Yeah.
I think it'll be more straightforward.
I'm not expecting any kind of weirdness out of it.
6 episodes too. We have it's like 4 episodes or 3 episodes short or so.
And then we have our Doctor Loki. I mean Doctor Who. I mean Loki.
Yeah, basically Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's like it feels like it anyway. So no, I'm really excited. If this was the start, and this is how they're gonna do their TV shows between Mandalorian, everything. I think Disney's killing it. So it's
so far so good, guys.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I loved it. So I hope you guys tune in for the next episode. It's gonna be super fun.
Oh,
maybe super heroic.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows?
Could be a little dark.
Exactly. Thank you guys for watching.
All right. Make sure you guys like, share,
comment, and subscribe, please. For the love of fucking God, do it.
Do
WandaVision. Watch it, guys.
hit the buttons.
Thank you for tuning in. Good night.